Welcome to 8 Nights of Kvetching Night 3.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to night 3 of 8 Nights of Kvetching. I am Jessica Brody-Frank, and I am joined by fellow Dead Dreams Club member and Jew Meredith Steinfels. And we are here to talk about the things that make us angry, that upset us, that annoy us, and that in general we just want to kvetch about. So tonight, night 3, woohoo, we are here to talk about the fact that we are still in a pandemic, people. And in fact, we are now in like a triple pandemic of like RSV, flu, cold, COVID. Keep racking them up, whatever you want to say now. What we're here to talk about is that the problem's still going and disabled people are still your staff and your audience. So we need to keep talking about this. So what the real problem here really comes down to is that I don't have time to kvetch about how much this irks me in general, but I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna make it short. And really what I would think is the most important is the fact that we are now almost to year 3 of having heard of this COVID-19 pandemic and having started to put into place ways to better protect ourselves as a community. One thing I think Meredith and I have always been really proud of in our, Jewish communities is this idea of taking care of each other, being really supportive and caring of health above all else, taking care of each other. And that really lent itself to these ideas we had when COVID precautions went into existence. They are not easy, and we're not here to say that it's, not difficult. I think anybody who's worn a mask for more than an hour knows it's not comfortable. We know it's difficult to plan around things being canceled, around things having to have these kinds of new systems in place for timed entry tickets at museums, having to share what your policies now are, having to change those things. We completely understand that's difficult. One of the biggest kvetches we have, though, is that most of that fell on our front of house staff. So in museums, the majority of people who took the bulk of the shit were the people who worked up front. And for a lot of people, these are the folks who are part-time. They don't have health insurance. They're not paid well. See episode 1 of the first night of kvetching. And episode 4. We'll wrap it back in. But these are the things I think that really made it frustrating was the folks who had to enforce these rules, who had to, even in 2020, even in 2021, and even this year in 2022, had to be the ones who said, masks are mandatory. You need to mask up here. You need to stay this far apart. They were the ones putting the tape marks on the floor. They were the ones counting people coming in. They were the ones having to turn people away at the door because they didn't have a timed entry ticket, which of course they didn't need in 2018, the last time they had come out, but now you do. And so the front of house staff were really the ones who took the brunt of people's terrible behavior. We heard people being spit on. We heard people being coughed in their faces. We heard people getting sworn at and yelled at, just generally being made to feel so incredibly unsafe in their jobs when they already felt unsafe being in the public during a pandemic. So first of all, to anybody who was mean to anybody during this time, you suck, pull your shit together. Thank you and good night. But on top of that, I think it's also something to say this was incredibly unfair to those staff members who didn't have adequate sick leave, who didn't have the ability to be out for COVID, and were then being tasked with being on site when a lot of staff could still work remote, when a lot of staff weren't being brought back in. And for some of the staff who didn't need to come back on site, who could work remote, but then came on site and didn't wear masks, didn't do what they were supposed to do, they were putting those staff members at even more risk. So I think this was something where in 2022 right now, when we're watching things go to optional masking, when we're watching all of the levels of saying, I can't think of what's the word for when people can be in a space.
Like being in public.
Like the number of people you can have in a space, like didn't they
Head
have
counts?
limits? I don't know. Whatever.
I know head counts.
Yeah, like head counts got limited. Now that they're not limited anymore, and you can go full capacity. We got there. Capacity was the word we were looking for, children. But now that we're back to full capacity, and we're just removing all these things and acting like it's 2019. But also, in 2019, there were other countries that already were asking people to don masks if they were sick, to avoid coming, to have easier times switching their tickets out if they tested positive for something. So we've learned, we saw these things, and yet now we're just reversing track. And while there's all these other sicknesses that are especially hitting our most kind of, I lost the word again. This is my brain fog because I had COVID and this is what happened. Our most vulnerable. Yeah, our most vulnerable kind of groups of people. The kids are the ones getting hit by RSV right now, getting hit with the cold. Elderly guests, immunocompromised guests, all of these people who we say, when you're looking at most museums, the majority of our missions are saying that whatever our little subject area is, science, art, culture, it's for everyone. But we're not making our spaces accessible to everyone. And especially when you're watching a lot of institutions roll back their virtual programming, take away a lot of the options to participate in things via Zoom or having those things provided in other formats. Now that we've also taken away masking, now that we've also taken away capacities, how is this for everyone? Because it's literally not accessible to a large swath of your community. And so it wouldn't be a DDC kveCH if we didn't throw in some solutions. So some things that we would love to hold up and that we would love to see done more and done better. So one thing I saw during this time was that the Skirball in Los Angeles, which is a great Jewish community center here in Los Angeles, had something called immunocompromised hours. Now, currently, they're not running that. As of December 5th, when I looked last, they no longer had that in place, but they now have masking required. But something they had done during the pandemic period of 2021 and 2022 was offered immunocompromised hours. So even though they required masks at all times for all guests, they had specific hours early in the morning when they lowered capacity and they enforced, the 6 feet rule. They required masks for everyone. And it was specifically to help make guests who were immunocompromised feel like the restrictions were in place and it was a safe space for them to come and engage. Similarly, the Skirball also has specific hours for guests who have autism or other kind of needs within those spectrums. And so things like these need to start to become just standard in all of our institutions when we're talking about making places accessible. Similarly, in California, as of September 29th, the governor in California signed the Assembly Bill 152, which immediately extended the obligation that all employers with over 25 or more employees had to provide COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave through the end of 2022. And so that meant that if you had more than 25 employees, you had to provide at least 40 hours of COVID sick leave if somebody tested positive, which helps prevent somebody coming in sick because they don't have sick leave and infecting their colleagues. And so this is something, clearly this is running out at the end of this month. And I don't know if they're planning to extend it, but things like this should be in place in all American workplaces, especially in, museums where we're interacting with the public, because how many of us, even pre-pandemic times, used to watch one staff member get sick and then you waited for your turn as it went around the office and it was like a joke. So these are things that we're just saying solutions wise, having true sick leave, having these hours set up to make things accessible. These are things that can be done and that should be done. And if you would like us to stop kvetching, at least about this topic, they could be done.
It was beautiful, and I don't have anything like super useful except for that. If like you are a leader, deputy director, director, management, or like very, very high level, some like small things you can also do: model good behavior. Like seriously, you know, don't be like that airline that's like, you may now rip off your masks. And I'm like, hey, fuck you, no. No, you know, take a science-based approach to staff safety. There's actual evidence-based published information about protections as well as virus mutations, unfortunately, because you know why those happen. But if you are in leadership, model safe behavior, model good behavior. I'm really sorry that your mask is tight around your ears. So is mine. So are physicians, so nurses, like respiratory therapists. Like, fuck it, just fucking do it. All right. Because I guarantee you that the person that's most uncomfortable is your immunocompromised staff member who's like terrified for their life.
More with modeling, if you are at those higher levels, no matter what level you're at, model good behavior. If you're sick, take a sick day. When somebody takes a sick day, respect it. Don't message them asking them to do something. Don't pressure them to come back earlier. Like, let's model the behaviors we should be, which is like, if you're feeling down, please take the time to feel better. Our jobs are still here. We're all going to be fine. Like, we can wait, and like model that behavior as well, because nobody wants to see or hear how like, oh, like I didn't feel well, but I came in today, so you should too. And like, we're not playing this game anymore.
You cannot pressure your staff to come in and put themselves at risk, especially if you have somebody who's like a preparator who's like, yeah, no, I'm totally lightheaded because I had COVID a few days ago. And even though I'm not, you know, testing positive now, I'm still having the after effects. They're like, no, it's okay. Totally fine. You can climb up in a lift.
Yeah.
No. So yeah, model good behavior, be kind to your staff, wear a mask, and listen to
Also,
science.
remember your language matters. So when we're talking about things like this, please stop saying things like, we're all excited to be back at work. We were already working when we were remote. Let's stop doing those kinds of things. Let's pay attention to how we're saying things. Let's not start a meeting by saying like, I know we're all so excited to be here in person. Like, there might be a member of your staff who is like actually in a life or death situation having to be on site right now. So just like, remember that your words matter. Remember that there's a lot of meaning behind what you're saying. And as Meredith pointed out, the people who are really going to feel these things the most are the ones who are at most risk. And so please just be kind.
Well, you know, one of our tenets of Judaism, community care.
Community care.
Community care. You're actually supposed to sit things out if you're sick. It's actually, it's a rule. Literal rule. It's in there. Yeah, sit shit out if you're sick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, happy Hanukkah.